Greetings, everyone. My name is Rick Wilson. I'm a pastor at Southside Bible Church and also the director of Entrusted Word Ministries. What I'd like to be able to do in this video and a couple more is sort of explain our leadership and teacher and leadership development blueprint. And it's something we all have to do. We all want to be looking at how do we train the next generation of leaders and teachers and going through that. And we've been working on one that we think is useful and helpful. It's not a seminary or anything like that. It's something that you can do at your own church. And I'd like to go through here and just sort of give you the high-level elements of it, and then there's some more detail in some other lessons. The blueprint has to have a title. You got to label something. So we've called it STEADFAST, and with a little tagline of love, learn, and lead. But what does that mean? It's a name. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to develop a Christ-centered teacher and leadership development blueprint that emphasizes three main characteristics. First, loving Christ and others. You have to start with that. Secondly, we want to learn to walk in God's ways while we're serving others. And finally, we then therefore believe that you can lead in a God-honoring manner. And so we want to love Christ and others. We want to learn to walk in His ways, and therefore then we can lead with godly character. As part of this, though, we have some objectives. And there's three high-level objectives that we have. First off, we want to develop biblical understanding, and not just knowledge, and we'll talk about that a little bit more, biblical understanding. Secondly, we want to develop ministry skills. So this isn't just something we're looking at saying, okay, I can stuff your head with a lot of information. It's something that you then can apply and learn the skills to develop what is going to be useful in a church setting. And finally, personal maturity, because it doesn't matter how smart you are or how skilled you are, if there's not that godly character and that personal maturity that comes along with it, it really doesn't do anybody any good. But there's a few more, I guess you call them detailed objectives or features of what we've tried to do. And again, with those three main elements, we want to have something that's comprehensive. So again, knowledge or understanding, skills, and character will give a well-rounded element to it. Next, we want to have something that's flexible, because we know one size doesn't fit all. What we're doing, what you're doing, what other people might do, what we might do in the future, it has to have the flexibility to adapt to all the different aspects of ministry, from a small church to a larger church to a different cultural setting. Next, we also want to have something that's repeatable, because if it can't be repeated, it just, what good is it if it's a one size fits all, one solution fits all? But it's something that can be repeated in other places and locations. So we've tried to do that as the development of this blueprint. Also expandable. If it only works for 5 people or 3 people or 10 people and you need 50 people, well, it's limited. So we wanted to have something that could be expanded and used in many different settings. And also, finally, we kind of wanted something that was extensible. This is being applied to teacher and leadership development, but we see there's many other capabilities or ministries that some of these same techniques and methodologies might be applied to. So again, it's extensible. The other elements of this in more detail is it can be evaluated consistently, because we're going to see evaluation as a very important aspect of this whole thing. So it needs to be something that can be done in a consistent manner. It also should be able to be shared with others. That's actually what we're trying to do right now, is share what we're trying to do with you, and we'll learn from you, you learn from us, and we can all share with each other. And finally, that it can be adapted to various learning styles, formats, and venues, because each of us is more comfortable in learning in different ways and different techniques and different locations and locales. So we want to be able to do something that it allows us to do that. Now, the big picture of this, there's the blueprint components, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. Then there's some detail, and each of the little components have a little bit more detail, and we're going to walk through those in some of the upcoming lessons. And then what I'm going to be doing is I'm also going to say, all right, here is an example of what we're doing at our church. Here are the things that we're trying, things we're attempting. And everything that we've done and everything that we're doing is going to be made available to anybody who wants it. If you want to use it, take advantage of it. Praise God if you can. We eventually, hopefully, will be able to gain input from other people. But we want to be able to share that. So I'm going to talk about some of the things that we're doing. Not going to talk much about tools or technologies or techniques, just one little area we're going to talk about just sort of as a sample, because that kind of gets down in the weeds. And there's also a whole course development methodology of how you do it and what we're doing. And again, we're not going to go into any real detail on that. So let's look at an overview of the blueprint itself. First thing we're going to be doing is we're going to look at its facets. And that's the kind of the thing that we're going to talk about in this session. Then we're going to be looking at roles and the levels of understanding. We're also going to look at the different environments. We're going to look at evaluation. We're going to look at some example approaches and a little bit about some tools that we're going to be using. And that you can too. That's the nice thing is this isn't, you don't have to be a big church. You don't have to have a lot of money to be able to do a lot of this stuff. This is something that almost anybody can do. So let's begin with the first facet of the blueprint. And this goes right along with the objectives that we've talked about. Biblical understanding. And if you really think about it, it's sort of a three-dimensional type of three-dimensional axis. And we have the biblical understanding on the y-axis. We have ministry skills on the x-axis. And we have personal maturity on the z-axis. So all of you who like math, it's a three-dimensional thing mapped out that way. Now at the center, at the 0, 0, 0 point, it's an evaluation and feedback. Because no matter what you do, no matter what you learn, if you don't get good feedback, you can't correct, you can't update, you can't improve. So evaluation and feedback is something that's hard for all of us to do, but it's something that's very critical. The next aspect of it, and this is sort of captured in a pyramid, and we've kind of stacked a bunch of pyramids or triangles together to make a bigger triangle. And in this thinking, we want to be Christ-centered. Everything that we do in all of the areas of knowledge, of character, and of skills has to be Christ-centered. And I'm going to talk real briefly about that. But let's begin at the top of the pyramid. And this is knowledge. And again, if you or I just stuff facts in our head, if we just put information in our head without a Christ-centeredness, why are we doing it? We're just trying to be smart. But there's two aspects of knowledge or understanding. First off is theological or theology. We want to know the Bible. We want to understand what it says. We want to understand it, not just know it, but understand it. The second aspect of this is how to apply it. You might know lots of things, but then how do you apply it? So what we want people to do is gain a knowledge that's Christ-centered, focused on the proper direction, that has good solid theology behind it, but then it also can be applied. And so this is what we're working towards in our areas of knowledge. The second area is of skills or ministry skills. And again, those skills have to be unto a Christ-centeredness. If they're just to, hey, look, I can present better, but why are you doing it? Well, if it's not unto glorifying Christ, why learn these things? There's two aspects of that, though. Hermeneutical skills. In other words, how do I understand a text, you do the exegesis on the text, the exposition of the text, the homiletics, the pedagogy, and all those other kinds of things that go along with it so that we are able to communicate. So these type of skills are communication, understanding scriptures, analyzing it, and presenting it properly, or presenting it well. Properly first and well second. The other aspect of skills, which are very important if you're going to have leaders and teachers, is shepherding or people skills. Some people might really be able to communicate real well, but you put them next to somebody and you put a person right in front of them and they kind of don't know what to do. Oh, good, I can stand back here and lecture, but I don't know how to interact with people. What good is it? That's our business, is to be able to minister and shepherd hearts and shepherd a people along. So again, Christ-centeredness, hermeneutical skills, people and shepherding skills. And the third area is character. And a lot of times we don't even think about how important that is. If you have all the rest of the things, a lot of people stop at knowledge. Some people say, okay, yeah, you have to have skills. But what happens when you don't have the right character? And there's two aspects of that. There's a demonstrated character. In other words, the character that comes out, that you see, that you can recognize. And then there's internal character, and that should be where everything starts with, is internal character, our love for the Lord, our love for his people, and then it then becomes demonstrated. Again, Christ-centered. Not man-centered, not I want an office-centered, not that I want a position-centered, but that it's Christ-centered. This is very important. And the final aspect of this kind of overall blueprint, and this is kind of we have a big chart that's sort of a stair-step chart. And across the front face of it, we talk about the different kinds of biblical understanding. And it starts all the way from just introductory to foundational to intermediate. In other words, getting into more detail, to advanced theologic study. There's special topics, special coursework, from counseling, history, family things, all sorts of stuff that you can get into. And then also ministerial. What are we really doing as ministers? So across that front face is all of the aspects of the knowledge that we want to grow in, the biblical understanding, the skills, the information that we need to be able to apply it. Up the side of it, if you will, as we sort of progress up the ladder, are a set of roles. And we're going to talk more about those roles. But they start with a learner, which we all need to be, and it goes all the way up to somebody that we call a mentor. And this isn't just, hey, I'm mentoring somebody. This is somebody with serious experience and skills. And again, we're going to talk about that in another section. Across the top is sort of, at each stair step is where you kind of put your foot as you're learning and growing and developing, is the aspect of character. And when we look at that, we've kind of categorized things in three elements of humility, interpersonal, and, if you will, internal or internal personal integrity. Who you are internally, how you interact with others, and who you are overall in that idea of humility. And again, we're going to talk about those in other areas. So those are the real high-level components of what this blueprint is made of. In our next sections, we're going to talk about roles and other aspects of that. So if you have any questions, we'll be able to answer those. But right now, that's sort of the high level where we're going to be going.